The privacy architecture answer that sounds great, but fails the senior interviewer. Most candidates describe bolting on encryption or a consent banner at the end of a project and call it privacy architecture. And that single framing tells the senior interviewer everything they need to know. The question is, tell me about a time you designed or refactored a system where privacy was an architectural constraint from the start, not a feature added at the end. Show specific decisions around data minimization, on-device processing, or user consent, and connect those decisions to a user experience outcome. At Apple, privacy by design means privacy is a first-class system requirement that shapes what you build before you write the first line of code, not a compliance step that happens after the architecture is already locked. What the senior interviewer is actually listening for is whether you made a specific architectural trade-off, like choosing on-device inference over a server call, and can trace that decision directly to a user experience outcome, not just a legal checkbox. Here is how most candidates answer this question when they think adding a consent banner counts as privacy architecture.
At my last company, we built a personalization feature that recommended content based on user behavior. Midway through the project, our legal team flagged that we needed a GDPR-compliant consent flow, so I designed the consent banner and the data deletion pipeline. I also added TLS encryption for all data in transit and at rest. After we shipped, user trust scores in our NPS survey went up, which showed the work paid off. I learned that privacy matters to users, and I now make sure to include it in every project I work on.
Privacy introduced by legal flag mid-project, not as initial architectural constraint. No evidence of data minimization or on-device processing trade-off decision. NPS lift claim is vague and unconnected to a specific privacy mechanism. Here is what I am writing in the debrief right now. Item 1. Privacy entered the project via legal escalation, not candidate's architectural instinct. Item 2. No architectural trade-off named. Consent banner and encryption are not design constraints. Item 3. Zero evidence of data minimization, on-device processing, or consent by default thinking. Item 4. User experience outcome cited as a vague NPS lift, not a privacy-enabled product capability. Verdict: does not demonstrate privacy by design. Same question, same situation. Listen to how this candidate makes privacy the reason the architecture exists.
When we built an on-device search feature for user notes, my first architectural decision was that the index never leaves the device. I had a server-side option that would have been faster to build, but it would have required syncing plaintext note content to our servers. Data the user never agreed to share. Instead, I scoped the problem. What is the minimum the device needs to answer a query locally? We built an inverted index stored in the app's sandboxed container, processed entirely in-memory at query time with no network call. Result: sub-80 ms search with zero data egress. User adoption of search doubled within 6 weeks of launch because users who had previously avoided the feature, I know this from session analytics, turned it on once we shipped a clear indicator that search was fully local. Privacy wasn't a constraint I worked around. It was the reason the feature worked.
Named explicit architectural trade-off, on-device index, chosen over server-side pipeline, led with data minimization framing before any technical design decision, quantified user experience outcome directly caused by the privacy architecture choice. Connected privacy constraint to product adoption, not compliance or legal coverage. Notice what changed. Privacy didn't constrain the answer. Privacy justified it. Item 1. Privacy constraint was the first architectural decision, not a response to a flag. Item 2. Specific on-device trade-off, named and justified against a concrete server-side alternative. Item 3. Data minimization framing explicit. Candidate asked what minimum data the device actually needs. Item 4. User experience outcome, doubled adoption, traced directly to the privacy architecture decision. Verdict: strong signal, clear hire. Before your loop, Run your story through these 3 questions. Question 1. Did privacy shape the architecture before you wrote a single line of code? If it entered mid-project via legal or compliance, it is not privacy by design. Question 2. Can you name the specific architectural trade-off privacy forced you to make? If the only answer is encryption or a consent banner, you have not made a trade-off. Question 3. Can you connect that privacy decision to a measurable user experience outcome? If the outcome is compliance or legal coverage, you are solving the wrong problem for Apple. If you cannot answer yes to all 3, your story is about privacy compliance, not privacy by design, and a senior interviewer at Apple will hear that difference immediately. How do your real stories score? Get a personalized report scored against the interview rubric Apple uses for your role. Find it at interview101.com.